Today, James, I knew that you were going to be coming here to work on this bike. So I have a few questions in my mind.
Go right ahead.
First question, what is the longest you've ever done popped a wheelie on a bike like this?
Oh,
What's the longest distance?
probably about 2 miles.
2? Okay.
I would go further, but I run out of field.
Oh, really? Okay, that's positive. Okay, great. I wanted to ask you, why do they call this bike? Is it called a bike, or why do they call
it ATV?
An ATV.
And back when these were built, they were called ATC, all-terrain cycle.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because it's not really a ATV, all-terrain vehicle. It encompasses everything. But ATC has only 3 wheels.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually getting a bit of a copyright from Honda.
Oh, really? Okay. I like that you're so knowledgeable.
Like I say to a lot of people, when you spend enough time paying attention to something, you somehow become the local expert or whatever in no time. It's just accumulated knowledge.
You are the local expert. Excellent. I have the local expert here with me.
Yes. Like from here to Winnipeg, and I've had dealerships in Ontario and Winnipeg call me because they don't have what I have.
Which is?
Technical knowledge and even old parts that don't exist anymore.
That's awesome. That's excellent and awesome. The next thing I wanted to ask you about this ATV is why do they call it a big red? Is it obviously just because of the color, or is there something else?
That's the company logo. They wanted to make a kind of a staple to their flagship machine and give it something. And Honda was known for having all their motorcycles, like their dirt bikes and ATVs, were all red. So
really?
They call this the Big Red.
Oh, really?
And actually, over in Australia, they have what's called the Super Red.
And what is that?
That's just another version of this exact same bike with different decals.
Oh, really?
As far as I'm aware, there's not much difference. I actually was going to get a brochure just to say I had one.
Oh, really?
It's
Okay.
something different, you know.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Well, I'm really happy to have you here today to help show me how you are going to, what are you going to do with this thing?
We're going to do an easy maintenance, change the oils and check air filters and stuff like that to make sure everything's going to be reliable so you don't have to walk home.
Thank you. You're a really good friend.
To get to the air filter, all you do is pop the seat off, and it's finger snaps. And there's a little tab here to grab to get your air filter, which is perfectly clean, which is nice to see. So that kind of puts my mind at ease there. But I see someone has either drilled a hole or dropped the screw down here. Oh, they drilled a hole and put a screw. You see that screw down at the bottom there?
Oh, yes.
It's a little silver screw.
Yes.
That should not be there. Yeah, we've established that the airflow is going to be good, it's nice and clean. And the bike overall, for 1985, it's, what is this, 39 years old, I believe? 39 years old is actually in quite remarkable shape, considering. They have electric start on the key. Electric start here, you turn it on. And if your neutral light is on, then you can start the bike. And if you follow me, there's an electric start push button right here to start the bike. That's your electric start. And if it's cold weather, you just slide the choke over to get more gas into the engine so that it starts in colder weathers. And turn it off when it warms up.
Excellent.
And then if somehow your electric start was not functioning, say you had a dead battery, Honda in their infinite wisdom built you a little safeguard.
Oh,
So
really?
in the event your electric start doesn't work, you pop off the side cover, comes off of here, and there is a Kickstarter for just such an occasion that if you had to start it and you had no battery, you can start the bike.
Excellent.
Very smart thinking on Honda's part.
Thank you, Honda.
And they used to have a pull start recoil, but water would always get in there every time you pulled on the rope. So I think the Kickstarter was a very huge improvement.
Excellent. So I know that when we are all riding through the country, I will not be left behind. Thank you, James.
That's right. And actually, they have even more little gizmos on this thing that to this day they haven't duplicated. And when I design my own machine, it's definitely going to have it. You unscrew these 2 knobs. And I'll get you around here now. Around to this side. And then you take both side panels off. I already have the other one off from the Kickstarter Expo.
Excellent.
Then you can wash. Oh, I just put it back on. Then you can wash the fenders.
Oh, wow.
It's a very smart, very smart idea. You can wash underneath the bike. There's even a little hood prop.
So it doesn't fall on
So
my
it doesn't
head.
fall on you when you're working.
I was just going to stick my head in there. Thank
Yep.
you.
No, you're good to go.
Excellent.
Very intelligent thinking on Honda's part.
So this is open so that you can clean underneath of it.
Yep.
And so that you can get to this part of the engine. Is that what we're doing?
Well, to access the battery's actually down here.
Oh, the battery. Okay. I'm telling you,
The engine's on the other end.
100%. I know nothing about this bike.
That's no problem. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here.
So I can learn from the best. All right. One of the best. All right.
One of the best there is.
One of the best there is. So in there is the access to the battery.
Yep, the battery's right here.
All right. Cool.
And we're going to be checking and changing the rear end oil, which is in here.
Great.
There's a little, could be right here where my fingers are. That's the cup. I actually use this to drain the oil. They have an oil drain on the side, but it takes too long. So I stand the bike on its end and open this cap, and it just all falls out.
Okay, that's awesome. All right.
Everybody has their own little cheater things. And actually, there's even more that they have done with this particular bike to make it one of the best bikes in history. I'll get you to back up a little bit more by the headlight.
Okay.
If you're stranded somewhere and you need a spotlight, remember this is the 80s. This actually comes off.
Oh, that's excellent.
And there's 25 feet of cord inside of here that you can use this for a spotlight to light up your whatever work you need. You know, say you're working on the bike in the middle of a swamp.
Wow.
Well, you sometimes need light in places you can't reach or
Oh,
turn the
that's
bike on itself.
excellent.
So remember, this is before smartphones and all that other stuff. But it's just the handiest, dandiest thing, and it just snaps back in. You put the little arms back in their places, and it's locked right in. It'll never come out.
Excellent. Yeah, that's excellent, because it is true when you're out in the middle of nowhere and it's like, oh, well, this is not working, and now I have no light and I have no smartphone.
I can't see, and this is as bright as a car headlight, so you could shine your neighbor a mile away, and if he was looking, you could flash his house or whatever.
Oh yeah, do Morse code, country Morse code.
Yeah, if you needed to, if they knew you're going that way, and say, if I get into trouble, we'll look for a flickering light.
Okay.
Because the country people kind of look out for themselves.
Yeah, I like my country friends. All
Yeah.
right, go ahead.
I myself, you have a nice big trunk for these things. I keep a tow rope in here in mine.
Oh, that's smart. Great.
Yeah, like it's a huge trunk.
It's amazing that something like this is able to carry so much with it. Like you could have you've got your food, anything you need in there. It's very nice.
Yeah, and because they're smart, they put a couple of drain holes. You can fill this with ice cubes and fill it with any kind of cold drinks you like. I know you're giggling because you know what I drink.
I like to drink pop and water.
Yeah, well, I like the odd beer, especially on a hot summer day.
That's okay. That's excellent,
I
Jay.
try not to ride and drive. I save the drinking for after the ride.
Yeah, that's true. But that's cool. It's a good idea to have those in there, especially, well, you never know what you might have.
Oh yeah,
to.
bottled waters or whatever, you're stranded for overnight. I've actually lost in the bush a couple of nights where we had to stay the night in the bushes.
Yeah, so it's very important to be able to carry all the things that are important for survival on this big red. So I think that's very important. All right, continue, sir.
Yeah. Not too much else. That's for options. The rest is generally the standard ATV with the reverse, forward, brakes.
And what about these tires? Does this come with these specific tires, or is that it?
No, actually, these are aftermarket because the originals likely wore off, and these have a bigger lug. They're more of like a tractor style tire where they push mud out the grooves as you put pressure on the machine, and it flicks it out the back. The original tires were more like the front, and even the front has been replaced. The front is what we like to call a dimple knobby because it's kind of uniform grid like a golf ball. So we call it dimples like a golf ball. So we call it dimple knobby because they're knobs that stick out.
All right.
Just an old thing that got thrown back from way back.
Excellent. I wanted to ask you, what's the towing capacity of this big red? Or would you, what would you
It's
do?
actually stapled in the back here.
Oh, really? That's wonderful.
Minimum load for the racks is 100 pounds. Maximum is 100 pounds, but because they're Honda, they're extremely conservative. I've put way more than 200 pounds on this rack and there's no issues.
So I could pretty much eat whatever I want and I could still go wherever I want to go.
No, but I mean on the rack, like the seat has a different capacity.
Oh, really?
Yes, the seat and the racks have a different capacity. You can have like a 300-pound person easily on here, but the racks have their own. So like say you had 2 pails of
water,
roofing nails or water or a chemical to go to the farm, whatever you need, you can put it on these racks. They're amazingly strong.
Oh, wow.
And this is probably, I believe, the first utility machine Honda ever made where it had rear shocks and front shocks, suspension, so that you wouldn't get beat to death driving over lumpy stuff.
So also it's a comfortable ride.
For its time, yeah.
All right.
By today's standards, it's very behind the times, but you know, it's been almost 40 years, so.
Well, I heard that people really like to, out in the country, repair their own things. So a lot of people have older machines.
Well, that too. You have something that your father handed down to you. It belonged to the farm before you were ever born, and if it's built with any kind of quality, it's still running today. And Honda has that reputation. That's why a lot of farmers are loyal to an old Honda because they can remember a generation before they were born and it's still running. We've already checked the air filter, but now we're going to check the oil. Don't be afraid to tighten these down unless you drive like a grandpa. Where did I throw the seat?
I don't drive like a grandpa, no.
Okay, and your oil filter is little more than a little paper screen. And I've seen it so often that people see these, and you notice there's a rubber hole on one side, and the other side is metal.
Oh, yes?
But you can fit it both ways.
Oh.
And so if you block off the oil hole, now you got no oil flow, no lubrication to the motor. I've seen them seize up solid.
Oh, really?
How long? Nothing.
How long does it take after that mistake?
Oh, probably about 15 minutes.
Oh, so you get 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, you get just a few minutes before you start hearing noises, and you're already starting to do damage to the metal. And then when you, after your 15 minutes, if you're lucky to get 15 minutes, it'll stop dead in its tracks.
And then that's it. And what kind of damage happens from when you do that?
Well, I would have to go into the internals of a combustion engine, but essentially where your camshaft rides on the aluminum would chew up like, it looks like melted metal.
All right, so
it does a tremendous amount of damage very quickly.
So this is an extremely important
part.
to
get this correctly. And after I would explain it, we'll pop off the oil filter cover and replace this. And when we do, we will explain how oil paths go. Like, it makes sense. And generally, the good rule of thumb is when you take an oil filter out that has both directions possible, look at how the old one came out. Kind of either take a picture or have a good memory or something that you've paid attention to how that came apart. So when it goes back together, to me, it only goes together one way. But physically, it can go both ways.
Right, and that is a mistake that I'm sure a lot of people have made.
Yes.
So it's really important to pay attention to that.
I had a local kid, he had a bike even nicer than this he got from his uncle. And I told him to change his oil, but he didn't pay attention and put this in backwards and came to me with the problem. He says the motor is stuck. It just will not move, won't turn, nothing. And that was unfortunate. And now that I'm older and wiser and seen a lot of this stuff, I probably could have fixed that for $300-400 easily.
Oh, it was more than $300-400 damage.
Oh yeah, easily.
Oh.
Oh yeah, like you a scarred cylinder, you got a chewed up camshaft, you got most of the head is just garbage. It chews up the head so fast that you got to throw it away.
Well, I am paying attention today.
All right. This is an aftermarket company called Hiflo. And Hiflo's filters are every bit the quality that Hondas are, but probably 40% cheaper to buy. And I go through enough of them that I just go aftermarket if I can find something that's going to not fail on me when I need it to. But Honda, in their wisdom, makes the same filter today that they did back in 1985 for modern sport quads of today. Basically unchanged. There's actually search engines on the internet like HondaPartsNation.com that you can look up to see how many models this filter was used in. And the list goes many, many pages.
Really?
Of how many this thing is used for, even up to today.
That's wonderful. So that's a really good filter.
Very smart engineering, and the fact that they still want to use it, they really haven't improved on the oil filter all that much in all these years.
All right. That's great.
They just did a really good job of reusing rather than recasting and designing it year after year after year. They just decided, you know what, there's nothing wrong with this filter. Well, let's keep using it as long as it holds up.
And that's excellent because sometimes I find that when you have mechanical stuff, they'll change just something, a little part of it, and then nothing works.
Right.
So then you have to go and spend so much money trying to get that part. But because this has been the same for over 40 years, then you can be satisfied and trust.
And not only that, but in mass production is extreme cost savings.
Yes.
Because they've refined this so much, they don't have to redesign jigs to build this thing. So the production gets more and more efficient the more they build the same thing over and over and over.
Excellent. Excellent.
It's smart thinking on their part.
Thank you. That's very smart. Go ahead.
Okay. And then for taking bolts off is not rocket science. You'll take it with your conventional ratchet. You'll put your correct size socket and take it off, put it on, whatever. But when it comes to dealing with aluminum, such as in the engine block on any ATV, they're all aluminum blocks. You need a delicate touch, and the service manual will tell you, and the service manual is the companies, whether it be Kawasaki, Honda, Can-Am, whatever you have, they will tell you what their recommended torque values are. And you couldn't possibly, unless you have a lot of hand experience turning wrenches, you wouldn't know what that is, but they make a torque wrench. And a torque wrench's job is to basically kick out when you get to the correct amount of tightness on a bolt. And you see they have numbers that are in, these are foot-pounds, or inch-pounds on this one. It's a smaller torque wrench. Mm-hmm. This is the bigger brother of the same thing. This will be in foot-pounds. Foot-pounds. So obviously a foot is 12 inches. So if you needed to convert an inch-pounds one into foot-pounds, you go times 12. But anyway, all you do is adjust it to whatever number you need. And I from experience, these little oil filter bolts, they are 90 inch-pounds. So you just adjust it up to 90 inch-pounds. And after you've tightened it a certain amount, the whole unit will click and pivot on this head and make a clicking sound. You'll feel right through your hand. And you'll have to have grabbed it by the gray handle or its accuracy will not function correctly.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
If you grab it from here, it won't work, believe it or not.
Really? Oh.
It's a bizarre situation. It reads torque along the whole bar.
That's interesting. Oh.
So say I'm going to put an adapter on, because these are 8 millimeter heads. That's an 8 millimeter socket. I'll adapt it down to 8 millimeter. And then we go over to the bike. So we find an 8 millimeter bolt. And all we do is listen for this. That clicking, that's to say you're tight enough.
Oh, really? Okay.
It won't click like that until you're reached the correct tightness that you've set the thing to.
Oh, that's excellent.
And the service manual calls for 90 inch-pounds for these 8 and 10 millimeter head bolts on this whole machine. They're all rated at 90 to 92 inch-pounds.
All right.
Just from memory of me reading all the service manuals 100 times. I don't even carry the service manuals all. I just keep them in my head now.
The service manual is inside of your head. Great.
Yes, just
all right.
by repetitious, and I'm sure I've worked on way more than hundreds of these things. Like including, I used to briefly work at a dealership that worked at Kawasaki. They would still bring Hondas to me. So yeah, a torque wrench is very smart. It saves a lot of, if you over tighten and strip the threads out of the bolt, now you got a very large job.
Oh, I've stripped lots of bolts before because I have, because I didn't know about this.
You didn't know about that, but yeah, for wheel nuts of a car, you use the big one, and you set it to most small cars are 120 foot-pounds of torque.
Okay.
For a wheel nut.
Okay.
You change your tires.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where a foot-pound one comes in, is larger nuts of that size. So yeah, you need actually both torque wrenches.
All right.
And if you're going to have them, you might as well have them both.
Okay, so these are torque wrenches.
Yes.
All right. And I'm saying that because I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah,
And
these are torque wrenches because that's how tightness is measured in torque.
okay.
And then from previous knowledge, here's your oil filter cover, and it's got 3 8mm bolts, and there is no secret to getting them out. You can use hand tools, but I'm getting older and more efficient. So I take them all out. Nothing's gonna hit you, don't worry. And there'll be a little spring underneath here, and a little blop of oil will come out, but don't panic. That's why the oil pan's underneath. Okay. A little bit of magic juice underneath there. Remember I said pay attention
Yes.
to which way it faces.
Yes.
So you see that it faces out, because a lot of people think, and also there's a spring behind there, we'll get to that later, that it goes this way, because why would you have the hole facing out? Well,
yes.
Because the hole is in the cover. You can see this portal runs oil to this hole, and it goes from the filter. It puts pressure on the outside of the filter and filters it before it goes in. It's squeezed through this hole, comes out this hole, goes through this rubber seal, up this little tin line, all the way to the top of the motor, and rains oil down on the camshaft and all the moving parts inside the motor.
Oh, I see.
And it recycles over and over endlessly as you're driving.
All right.
And that's what keeps everything alive.
Fantastic. All right.
The only thing they got to later, this little spring is a headache to try and keep it here. It always falls out every time. So I just end up laying the bike on its side when I'm ready to put it back together.
Oh, that's a little...
Because in '86, they designed these little arms that hold it a lot deeper. So they would hold it there by itself. But this is the very first attempt. They really didn't fully understand it could be better. But good old Honda, they don't take long to figure out there's always a better way.
Great.
So we'll just take this and put it away somewhere safe, clean. I always wipe out all the black soot. So that's the whole point of what you're taking out, is that it filters and stays behind, and it doesn't go through your motor. If there's any debris, carbon buildup, or anything, any engine metal that may have broken down, this is your warning system. It basically tells you that there's something breaking down inside the motor that you need to address. And if you don't pay attention every time you change your oil to what's in there, then that's your own fault that you're having a big issue that was easily preventable by paying attention. But a lot of this stuff, I guess they don't teach you in school.
No, they do not.
Not so much anymore. Take the drain plug out. There we go. Once we got it broke. And the torque for the drain plug is 11 foot-pounds. Here's something they don't even tell you in the book, is that a lot of people will drain the oil with the engine hot, which is a pretty good way to go if you're in a rush. But if you're not in a rush, you can let it drip dry on its own when it's colder. And then when it's done, if you were to tighten it cold, you get the accurate measurement. But aluminum is a very soft metal. So if you have the engine hot, when you're trying to tighten the drain bolt back on, you will actually strip the threads much easier than if they were cold.
Oh, okay.
If they're hot, they'll just like butter. They'll just slip. You'll just strip this. I've seen so many. I actually have a way of repairing, because it's such a common problem for people to strip this little bolt for the drain, that I had to buy helicoil kits, which is a thread repair kit. You drill out the hole to the next size, and then you put a metal insert that has metal threads instead of aluminum threads inside there. And it's a much better fix than the stock. But if you're careful, you'll never need to fix it. Helicoil. H-E-L-I coil. And yeah, it's available at pretty much any car repair place will know exactly what you're talking about. And inside, in between, this is a metal drain bolt. And this is an aluminum crush washer or gasket. It seals the oil inside the motor because it's a soft metal. It compresses, and any imperfections in the bolt that would seep oil out, this will seal up nicely because it's a softer metal.
Excellent.
And it's reusable endlessly. The only thing that'll ever wear it out is if you over tighten it and you actually squash it so hard that the aluminum squirts out, which does happen because this is raw aluminum, and Honda put some sort of alloy in their aluminum to make it harder than it ever was from stock. It was never that hard. No, there's no aluminum that hard. But there's a process that metal and aluminum grow to each other when they've been together too long. They will grow on there so hard that something's going to break before it would come apart where it's intended to.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like it's pretty rare, and all you have to really do to avoid that is put a little grease or oil, engine oil on it, and then that little bit of something in between will keep that process from happening. Because I've seen it happen so much that the aluminum turns white and it turns like a super glue. It just breaks down somehow by just having contact with metal.
All right.
Like I said, I'll have to Google it, but it's just a known thing that you have to put a little lube if you're going to have. I've seen it done with plastic, a little layer of like even a plastic bag. Companies will do it when they're putting fenders on or heat shields on aluminum, metal on aluminum. They'll put little bits of plastic in between, but oil and fluid film is one of my favorites. Fluid film is like a penetrating fluid, like WD-40.
Who makes that?
Fluid film is its own company.
Oh, fluid film is.
Fluid film is the name of the. I actually have some in my truck. I generally keep some. I use it for a lot of stuff.
Oh, it's great for everything.
Oh, I use it to install tires.
Oh, really?
I use it to lubricate the beads so that the rubber pops onto the rim. I use it for keeping bolt threads from rusting in places where there's going to be water. I use it for lots of stuff, even polishing plastic.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, cleaning stuff up. That as long as you're not going to be painting in that area, because it actually will create fish eyes in paint. Paint won't be able to stick if you've had any oily substance next to it.
And we are not affiliated with Fluid Film.
No, but
it's just an excellent product.
It's an excellent product, and they deserve recognition for being a good product.
Thank you, Fluid Film.
Yes, sir.
I will have the link down in the description so that you can purchase your own fluid film. Go ahead.
It's pretty much just dripping. And I do it for my own sake, but you don't really need to go this far. The oil pump has some oil trapped in it, and it isn't very much, but I'll often turn over the motor with no oil in it just to pump out the oil pump. So we'll do that for giggles, but we don't really need to. And then you'll see that more oil will come out the bottom after I do it. You can get down here.
Is it going to spray me all over?
No, it won't. There'll be a little tube here. I'll get you to back up just this much,
okay,
and you're safe there. It's just going to shoot here and then run down, okay, and you'll see more coming out of the drain plug than what was before.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
Gets rid of a lot of dark oil that we don't want going through the motor.
Excellent.
That much cleaner when you do your oil change.
Excellent.
You can see there's a lot more coming out of the bottom too.
Absolutely. So that would have, if they did not do that, all of that was mixed with the new oil.
Yeah, it just shortens the life a little bit. I know it's overkill, but
I don't think so, because
if you're going to do something, just try and do it as good as you can possibly do it.
Absolutely, and that is quite a lot of fluid that is still coming out of there. So I think that that's actually a step that needs to be done or added.
Yeah, it would be nice if they did, but they just assume for the average person that's not so knowledgeable, so they just make a very generalized oil change when you read the book.
We are in the country. Country people are knowledgeable about these types of things, so they're going to want to know.
Sometimes our life depends on it.
You got it.
If the weather's bad enough, it's how else are you going to get to town? Maybe your car doesn't start, or maybe the snow's too deep. You got to take a snowmobile or ATV to get yourself to some help.
Right. So this is another very important step. All right.
Better drain pans. They have an extra hole for your filter, so you don't get your hands as dirty, and you have to sit there and babysit that thing while it's dripping dry. So you put this over top, and all the extra oil that runs off will run down into the drain pan, and you don't have to sit there and babysit it. there's like black soot at the bottom. That's a lot of the stuff you don't want going through your motor. You just either take a rag and get the bulk of it, but if I need to, I clean it. I use a brake cleaner, brake cleaning in an aerosol, and it just blasts it out. It just eats it. It eats oils, cleans it like brand new
Oh, wow.
in just seconds rather than sit there and wrestle with oily rags and whatever. And it also evaporates very quickly.
That's a great tip. That looks good as new.
Yep.
Great.
But another thing to consider, you wouldn't have noticed it until you review the footage, but I was trying carefully not to spray any on this rubber O-ring.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
your seal.
Okay.
Brake clean makes rubber swell up like a balloon.
Oh, really?
So this will actually become big enough, not crazy big, like I'm exaggerating with the balloon thing, but just big enough that I can't get it back in.
Well, that's a good tip to know. Okay.
So you either dig it out with a pick or something sharp, but careful not to nick it, and get it out of the way completely, or just do like what I do where I hang it upside down so that it doesn't run uphill, and careful where you spray.
All right.
Because there's also another O-ring here. If you see any tears in it, that's where it's going to leak. Because a lot of people get confused when it leaks out of here, they don't know where the leak is coming from. So they'll put silicone on there and try and gum it up, and it just makes a mess for nothing. Meanwhile, you should replace one of your 2 O-rings.
All right. I'm learning a lot today.
There we go. And now we've dripped dry. There's barely a drop even coming out of there, so I'm going to go with more than good. So I'll put our drain plug back in. Always start a bolt with your fingers. Never, ever start a tool with an electric tool or an impact, air or battery powered or what have you. Always start the threads by fingers. You can feel that you didn't cross thread it. If you cross thread it and the threads are wrong and we have one metal softer than the other, or even if they're the same hardness, you damage them. Now you're pushing filings in, and now you have to correct your problem. And it costs money to correct problems of either ignorance or laziness. So I get it close like that. Then I get my torque wrench. Set to 11 foot-pounds. And we have a cold motor, not a hot motor, so we know we're not going to strip anything. And Bob's your uncle. Listen for the click. There we go. That's as tight as it needs to be.
So I want to know, is there any other holes under there? And
Okay.
what is under there?
Well, you're going to see. I have my trick for that too. Here's a little known secret about ATVs. Very little known. Every ATV manufacturer, except for Can-Am now, has it so that if you have the bike standing on its rear rack, it will balance itself.
Oh, really?
So you can see underneath the machine.
Oh, well, let me back up. So.
So put it in here. Stand it up. Oh, a little bit of oil mess. Yeah, there's some gasoline. You should shut the gas off first to be smart. We'll use it. Anyway, here's the drain plug. There's a hole made special for it so you can still fit a socket. The rest of these are to let water and mud back out. You can see there's no other drains, no other places to drain any fluids or bolt anything on.
All right, so it's impossible to make a mistake of where
On
you're
this
putting
particular
it.
model, there is only one drain bolt.
All right, thank you. And this is my next question, is this how you guys are doing these wheelies? Because these machines are made to stand up like that.
No, doing a wheelie is a different ball of wax. I will have to,
Okay,
that will have to be another day.
okay.
But yeah, but now that we've drained all the oil out, I'll get you to give me a little room, and we're going to put that thing back together. Remember what I mentioned before about the spring would not stay in the hole, come around? The spring wouldn't stay in the hole.
Yes.
My trick is, because I was so frustrated, I get all my stuff ready. Stand the bike on its side. And then you put your spring in, it doesn't go anywhere. Ta-da!
Great.
And then hole facing outside. And if you look on a lot of these filters, a lot of the better filters, I don't think this one has it, but I know the Honda one for sure does. It will actually say on the hole with the rubber, it'll be stamped in the metal outside.
Oh, that's good.
But people don't read it because it looks this, you see how hard it is to read this? It
Yes.
says HF 112. Can you see those numbers?
Yes, just very, very lightly.
Exactly. Well, that's how they write outside. No. Nope. You just put it in. It self-centers with putting the cap in. You put your cap back on. And whenever you put your cap on, you just feel it until it falls in. And then you do a twisting motion so your O-ring gasket slips in. Because I've seen too many people push it on and they'll actually cut a corner off. They'll cut a corner right off the rubber. You just go till you feel it slip together. Just like that, it just slid right together. And you put one bolt. Always start them by fingers unless they're down a deep hallway. Start them by fingers. Tighten one up gently, no torque wrench. Start it by fingers. Oh, even 2 bolts is enough. I can lower the bike down now. And like I said, it was 11 foot-pounds, but there's an inch-pound torque wrench, so you'll back it off to 90 inch-pounds. I don't know if you can see that. I will try and get something there. You see how it has a 90?
Yes, I believe I can see it. I think the camera can see that. All right.
Okay, and it has a squiggly line, and then on the blue part, it has numbers, so you can get down to 0, which would make that exactly 90, then 91, 92, 93, 94. See that it's oily here and dry here. We had an oil spill. Does it show up on camera or no?
I believe so, but please tell me what's going on.
Okay. Well, we're trying to get this so that there's not a slippery spot. If you step, you're slipping in oil.
Okay.
So you brake clean, it breaks up oil so quickly. Just like it did with that filter. You spray some on. And it don't take a lot.
Wow, I can see it coming off quite a bit on that rag. Oh, it makes it so shiny too.
And it'll evaporate. The rest will evaporate off. But yeah, it sure saves a lot of time if you only have a small oil spill and you just want your floor to be.
I will put the link down in the description so anybody can pick up some of their own brake clean. All right.
My stuff dries faster. So you can almost watch mine drying, eh?
It's very nice. Oh yeah, it's not as shiny. So
Nope.
great. Oh, that's a really great tip.
Super quick.
Okay, and that stuff is called what?
This is Johnson's brand, Brake Clean.
All right, I'll put the links in the description. Great.
So sometimes you need a brake clean to last longer so you can work with it. And other times you want it to evaporate extremely quickly so you can move on to the next whatever.
All right, great. That's a wonderful tip. All right, thank you.
So we'll just finish torquing our cover so we can put oil in the bike.
Okay.
Put our last one in with no force at all, just to say we get it to the bottom. Switching to our torque wrench to torque them correctly. Here, I'm going to get you to do one of these. I'll do one and you'll see how it goes. You hear that?
Yeah.
Now you go right ahead.
So,
Just pick this one right here.
all right, it just goes on top of it like
Yep,
that?
and grab it right by the handle like what I said, otherwise it won't be accurate.
Oh, okay. Well, you're going to have to
Just slide your hand up, I got the tool.
Okay.
No, up here.
Oh,
I want
up
it
here.
Right there. Okay,
Oh.
now just turn it until you feel a click. Nice and slow. It's pretty easy to figure out.
Do I not have it on correctly? I don't.
You got it right.
Oh, there.
Just like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the whole, you can feel it click throughout the whole thing and into the
Exactly.
handle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I like that a lot.
You won't make a mistake.
Yeah, okay, I
And
like
now
that.
that will never come loose on the trail. You're as safe as in your mother's arms.
Oh, well, that's wonderful.
There we go. And now we just fill our oil back up to the top and continue on. Maintenance is performed.
Great. Fantastic. All right.
Wrapping up our oil change, you always need a funnel to fit the shape of your situation. So in this situation, the oil dipstick checker to check your oil is right here. And you want it between these two marks, but ideally this is your full mark and this bottom mark is to say add. Can you see the marks?
I think you're gonna have to. Yes, I can.
Here, let me have a look. There we go. You can see the two marks.
Oh,
Nice.
I see.
That's full and that's add.
Okay, perfect.
And then you always thread it all the way to the bottom to get a correct reading. Otherwise, the amount of threads you have is a problem with your measurement. Because if you see it, it actually threads out quite a ways out. And actually, there's a cheat move I use, is that the amount of threads from here to here is the same threads from here to here. So if I get oil up to the add line just by doing this, then it's full when you thread it in. So we'll just add what I know it takes just a little bit over 2 liters. So you need an oil, preferably with, oil ratings are funny. 0W40 with oil ratings, the first number is your viscosity weight at room temperature. So this is like a 0, it behaves like water at plus 15 Celsius. And your second number is your protective value. It's because oils were measured in a 10 weight or a 30 weight. This other number didn't exist at the beginning of oil. It was just one number.
Okay.
So this is the important number for protection. And this is the one to say it's really cold outside, which I don't know what is in Fahrenheit is minus 20. I think it's minus 40 that they both meet. Is that correct? At minus 40, if you pour this oil and it's a 20 weight, it looks like honey. It pours slow like a slug.
Okay.
It just barely comes out. And a 0 weight in minus 40 will run pretty significantly, almost like a regular oil in summertime.
Okay.
So that's the differences in your first number,
is
how they react to the cold. And also synthetic makes it even better yet for running in the cold.
Okay, we'll have to make a video about that and link it in the description. We will link that in the description.
Okay, and then your protective value, you need at least a 30 for a Honda 3-wheeler such as this, and generally most ATVs in the summer or winter. But the closer you are to summer hot weathers, you want a 40 or even a 50 to be your last number.
Okay.
And because this is similar to a motorcycle with the clutches, you need a JASO approved oil. This isn't written here so much. No, they didn't write it on theirs. But when it says wet clutch certified, that's what you have is wet clutches in here.
All right.
So without that, of some semblance of having wet clutch certified oil, your clutches are going to start to turn hard with heat, and they will start to slip. And when they start to slip, they get very hot and they burn up. And now you have to replace your clutches.
Oh, okay.
So it's easily avoidable by using your correct oil. More than 2 liters, you just pour the whole thing in and wait for number 2. Without the funnel, you make a heck of a mess.
I can imagine. Great.
There's no higher reach than to educate yourself about something you're interested in.
I'm also doing this just in case you guys ever leave me in the outbrush and I have to find my way home or repair my machine.
And then you won't feel defenseless. No, that's a great way to go. That's a fantastic thing.
Please, you guys, don't leave me out in the brush.
Never. We generally, as a rule of thumb, this is to add to riding in general. Your most experienced rider is at the back as like corralling all the sheep.
Oh, that's a good thing to know.
And you have your funnest rider in the front to make it fun and interesting places to go.
That's really good. I like that.
So that everybody in between can relax, enjoy the day, enjoy the sunny weather, have a fun ride with no stress about getting lost. They just got to follow the guy that knows the trails, and the guy at the back can take care of any problems you may have.
And it's also fun not being the one at the very end.
Really?
Well, I'm always the one in the back because you guys ride wild.
Well, no, we only do that because we're in wide open spaces. If we're in a trail ride,
No, that's true. You guys are really, really good like that.
Like, we definitely make sure that you're never left behind.
That's true.
And we're always looking back.
That's true. That is true. You guys are really great at that stuff. You're out there just flying.
I was upside down.
Upside down.
I was.
That happens too. No, in a trail ride, I generally it's a lot different situation because there's more things to hit, trees and so forth. And your engine case, there is an O-ring. This is your seal to keep the oil in the motor. It sometimes sticks on there, but yeah, if this isn't on here or in the bike, then I don't care how hard you tighten this, it's going to seep. It's going to have a wet look of oil every time you drive.
Okay. It's
going to try and get out. So make sure that seal is there. So we're just going to check our fluid levels. Okay, now we're getting close. So I'm above the full line. Because we're above the full line, we can start the bike. And the reason we start the bike before we do our final checks is because remember over here in the oil filter we changed earlier, that's still empty. There's no oil in here.
Okay.
So the oil pump's got to fill it up. And once it fills up, then it'll run up and rain oil down on the engine. And once we've had a complete cycle, then we check our oil again. Otherwise, when we first run it, it's going to be low after the first time you run it. And you didn't think to check it because you thought it was already full.
all right.
So, we're over full. We're going to give her a little run. The Kickstarter isn't doing what it should, so we're going to do the old-fashioned move. I don't hear too much engine, like agitated or anything. Motor sounds good. Seconds to a minute of pause. I'm quite sure that's lost. So that being said, because after you run your engine is a rotating thing, your crankshaft. So it throws oil everywhere inside the motor. It throws oil up, down, left, right. So when you check your dipstick, it's going to be wet from end to end with oil. It has no choice, no matter what the level's at. So you got to wipe it from top to bottom to make sure that oil doesn't run down and muck with your reading. Once you got it dry, and you stick it in, thread it all the way down. Come all the way back out. And we're just to say on the add line, you can see a little bit of oil. You know, try and get your reflection. But yeah, we're low, so we're going to add some more. Usually at about 1.5 to 1 3/4 liters, I check the oil to start. Because some machines, they have some places that the oil doesn't come out. So you're kind of stuck with a little more than the very first time you filled it when it was completely dry. And my little trick, if I'm tired of waiting and I know it's dripping, I'll just stick the funnel in the container and you don't have a mess on the floor. And then recheck it. And if your oils and everything were cold, you want to let it sit longer so that the oil will run back down. Because if it's a thicker oil and it's cold outside, your oil, when you pour it in, is going to be really thick. But when it's warm like this, it's room temperature, your oil is more like water. It's going to fall back down where it should. It won't take long. So, put a dipstick in, take it back out. We got a misreading. You see, it makes it to the full line, but there's a couple of dry spots. I don't know if you can see that at all.
Yeah. Yes.
So we'll start over. Play a happy song and so forth. There we go. We're almost at the full line. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
So just a touch more and we're good to go. Just put a slug in. You take your best guess. It wouldn't be much at this point. Maybe even overfilled it, but even if you overfill it by a tiny bit, it won't affect nothing. But if you overfill it to the point where you can see oil, and I've seen it, people fill it right to the top and they don't understand what a dipstick is.
That's why they call it a dipstick.
Yeah, because they make fun of people. You are a dipstick if you don't understand. But anyway,
Wow.
what it'll do is if you run it too high with oil, the crankshaft makes too much pressure, banging on the oil, and it'll blow your seals out of the engine.
Oh, really?
So now it's leaking out of everywhere.
Oh, wow.
So you can make a tremendous amount of work by overfilling the oil.
Another James tip there.
There
That's
you go.
excellent.
Because I definitely know people that have filled it right up till no more would fit in.
Well, that's a very good thing to learn, actually, because I
Yeah.
probably would think, oh, I'm going to pour as much of this in there as I can.
Yeah, more is better, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Perfect. Right on the line, full line.
Great.
Good to go. Good for 20 catwalks.
I love catwalks. Not
And that, in a nutshell, is an oil change and all the little headaches and hurdles that go along with it.
I want to know your background in this. Why should people listen to you, James? Tell me.
Well, I generally am not doing this, for the first thing, I'm not doing this out of a place of I'm profiting from it. It's generally, I like to see these older machines stay alive, and I like to see people feeling better about what they're doing. Like if you're out there and you got confidence that when you're doing the correct maintenance that your machine will last, then you get out of the house more, less video game jockeys. Like you're just, it's a better way of getting out to see the world and more of it. And myself, my experience goes back to, I really had nothing growing up. I didn't have much, so we had time. And they say time is money, so I spent some time and learned how to drive them, how to fix them. Like that's not wasted time.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do something with whatever time you've got. Whether people's excuses of my parents didn't come from money or whatever. Well, the people with money are paying someone else to do it. They are not educating themselves. They're not getting further ed. They're not feeling empowered when they're lost in the rhubarb. Some little thing is wrong and they could easily fix and not have to walk for 20 miles to go home and risk life and limb through the bushes or swamps or wherever they found themselves. I got recruited to work for Kawasaki ATV dealership, and not because I have any papers, not because I have any university or anything of that sort. Just by word of mouth and reputation, the owner found out that I was doing more fixing in my little garage at home than he was doing in his shop, and decided that he could make me an offer to come work for him.
Well, that's excellent, James. That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, that's it. So I just wanted to have this moment with James at the end of our video so that you all could see that James is an expert with these machines. And yeah, so I want you to watch the rest of our videos. I will put the link up in the description, and I will talk to you later.